Welcome everyone to the UNICOMM staff podcast on supporting student engagement in higher education. My name is Elke Welp-Park. I'll be your host today, and I'm joined by some incredible colleagues that I will introduce later. But first, some words on the UNICOMM project, an EU-funded Erasmus Plus project that focuses on fostering active student participation and engagement in higher education, especially via extracurricular activities. The project aims to increase a sense of belonging for students in higher education, but today's podcast is actually focusing on staff in higher education, their role and viewpoints and their possibilities in enhancing and contributing to supporting student engagement in higher education. Today's topic, more specifically, is what competences does university staff need to have to foster an environment where students are actively engaged, actively participating, not just present. Let me introduce my colleagues who will be joining me in this conversation. Weronika and Nikol, over to you. Could you maybe just let our listeners know who you are? Nikol, let's start with you.
Yes, so my name is Nikol. I work at the University of Graz in Austria, more specifically at the Department of Academic Services. And we are a lot of different teams, and my team is the For Students Study Info Service. So we are basically the first point of contact for future students, but we also work in sharing information for current students. So any questions they have about their studies in general, they just come and ask us and we try to help them. But we also do various events, so we try to kind of organize the things that bring students from high school up to universities, be it open house days, welcome weeks and stuff like that. So we kind of try to cover it all and kind of be a good point of reference for all students with different needs. Yeah.
Great. Thank you and welcome to this conversation. My second guest is Weronika. Weronika, could you maybe just say a couple of words about who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. So thank you very much for inviting me to this conversation. My name is Weronika Wardzyńska. I work at private university in Warsaw, Collegium Civitas, and I work there as a welcome point coordinator. So I am in charge of adaptation and integration activities for students. There are additional events, extra events outside their standard program of studies. So I am not a lecturer. I am a member of the administrative staff. Yeah, I'm very glad to be here today and to have this opportunity to share my experience with you.
Well, thank you for this introduction. It is people like you supporting students in arriving in higher education that fulfill a vital role, and we'll hear more about that. But first, I want to let our listeners know how it is that we met. We actually met as part of a peer coaching group within the UNICOMM project, focused on how staff can support student engagement in higher education. It was 12 staff members in higher education from across Europe that kind of exchanged experiences and solutions on higher education. Personally, I want to say this was a very gratifying and actually a wonderful experience for me to join these colleagues in the peer coaching group. You know, I approached this like work, basically. We met each Tuesday at 8:30 and I'm like, okay, it's another meeting. But then after the first week or so, it turned into a date that I was really actually very much looking forward to. I mean, after this experience, and receiving support from staff that's not necessarily at your institution was extremely helpful for me. And I mean, I came out of this experience thinking everyone needs a peer coaching group, and actually we've continued this informally as well. So I was just wondering, how was your experience in or with this peer coaching group? Weronika, maybe?
Sure, I cannot agree more. It was amazing experience for me as well. And I was, nicely surprised that we are really coming together, even though the project is over. And this is very encouraging that, it gives me reassurance and faith that people want to do things together and support and inspire each other. And especially for me, because I'm working alone, basically, I have one person, only me in my team. So it was very, very good opportunity to share good practices, to share my doubts, my questions with other people who are, struggling with something similar. So it was very encouraging. It was very good, safe place. And it was also amazing that how quickly I felt very safe, very secure with all of you, even though we were all strangers at the beginning. So it was amazing journey. And I'm really glad that we have this opportunity and willingness to continue. So great project.
Great. That's great to hear. Yes. I mean, it's not only, we talk about community among students a lot, but really this also showed how important it is to establish some sort of community among staff. And yeah, academic work or work in higher education can be also lonely at points. We'll have a different podcast on staff well-being as well. But Nikol, how did you view the peer coaching group? How was it for you?
I can only agree on what you already said. I think I was a bit nervous at first once we introduced ourselves, because I realized we're from so many different backgrounds, and I was a bit insecure because I'm not in teaching, and I thought, oh no, maybe this will be the focus and I can't really contribute. But I think actually this was the strength, that we had so many different sort of areas that all make up one big higher institution, to kind of come together and learn from each other and realize that we can actually benefit from similar strategies and help each other. So I think that was sort of the strength, although it was a bit intimidating at first. But I do agree it was very much a safe space. I think, and I told this to my colleagues after the first meetings, I really liked that one of the very first things we did was establish sort of ground rules with listening to each other and letting everybody, speak their minds freely and stuff like that. So it made me feel like, okay, whatever I say, it's gonna stay within those people and be heard and be validated. So I really like that a lot. Yeah.
Great. Really good to hear. Thank you. Let's dive into today's topic. How can staff support student engagement and active student participation? Just maybe over to you. How do you see student engagement or active student participation in your own work, or how do you see non-engagement in your own daily activities? Nikol, maybe starting with you.
I was thinking about this because I was also thinking about what student engagement really is and how I could define it for my area of work, because I think it's, I wouldn't say easier, but I thought that the first thing you hear student engagement, you think of teaching and you think of class participation and stuff like that. But I think it goes well beyond. And I think where I see it is when we organize events for students, where we kind of hope to get them to come and sort of explore and take up space. I think that's where you see it. So if you don't just give them the feeling that they can occupy space and engage and that they are welcome at the university as a whole, but where you actively make space for them and actively give them the opportunity to come to you and ask you questions and participate in different events and get the information in a very very easygoing manner, so that for them it's not a lot of effort, and it's kind of beneficial for both sides. So for us, it's kind of motivating for that they are coming to our events and that they're taking the opportunities that we provide for them. But at the same time, for them, it's kind of helpful to navigate their future studies or whatever paths they want to take in their university life. So I see it like whenever people come into our office, I'm like, okay, yeah, it's working. We're kind of present. People know we exist. The same with our events. So that's kind of for me, like whenever I hear my colleagues talking and I realize, okay, it's busy in the office, I'm like, okay, good. That's a good sign that students are engaging and they're trying to kind of arrive and then settle.
Great. That's very interesting to hear, to aid them in occupying space, to actively making space for students. But I just have a question. Why do you think that is, that some students come and join these events, or how do you actively make space for students? How do you reach them so they participate in the activities that you offer?
I think beyond the classics of just like, marketing your events and trying to make sure they know about them, I think it's also about understanding what their needs are, like really trying to figure out, okay, what is it that they need at this stage in their lives, and then trying to offer something. And I think what we as a team often do, we have like two basic questions that we kind of keep asking each other. It's always, on the one hand, is it like beneficial for them? Like sometimes we come up with like super fun events where we're like, oh, this could be fun and we could do this kind of game and this and this and that. But then we kind of have to stop ourselves and understand, okay, is there a benefit to it? Like, will they also get something out of it? That, sometimes it's perfectly fine to just have a fun day. But we try to kind of include something university related to it. So it's kind of like, is it going to offer a benefit and help them? But at the same time, would we ourselves enjoy it? Would we actually come to our event? Because it could be the greatest information event where they find out everything they could possibly need. But if it's incredibly boring and we ourselves are kind of dreading to go there, kind of abandon the idea. So you have to sort of relate to them and try to understand what is it that they need and how can we make it attractive for them. So to try to get as many students as possible, although I don't think you can always get everybody, but at least a large amount, hopefully.
Well, fascinating. I'll be asking you about what events or initiatives were most successful later. But first, Weronika, what does student engagement look like in your work environment or day-to-day activities?
Sure. I just want to add one reflection to things that Nikol said, because this is also a thing that I can agree that sometimes I am maybe too ambitious, and I guess that maybe sense of belonging and engagement is also built by entertaining events, and when you can just be with each other. And this is a big lesson for me, that sometimes the less is more. How trivial it may sound, it can be very, very useful. And you know what? When it comes to engagement, I think this is a way to learn who you are. And I am thinking not only about students, but also about myself. It's a way to find out what I like, what they like, in which directions we're supposed to go together, what will be exciting interesting for them, but for me as well. So I can be an active participant of those events with them and encourage them during the way. So I guess this was something that Maxime shared, our colleague from from the UNICOMM group, peer coaching group. He said something like that the more we believe in what we are proposing and we communicate clearly what is important, what is exciting for us, the more authentic and inspiring we are for others. So at least this is how I remember it, but this is very true. And I think that, our values, our excitement, it can be contagious somehow for our students. So, yeah, I think about engagement in that way. And the more I'm working with students, I am more, open to them, to their suggestions. I am less strict with, different rules. I guess it was a journey for me as well to start working there and discover for myself what this cooperation could be for me and for them as well.
Well, thank you. This already goes into the staff competences aspect of our conversation. It's a mutual thing. It's not a one-way thing. It's both sides working together. You just said that. You need to kind of believe it, feel it too, for it to be authentic and good for all parts. Yeah, thank you for that. In our UNICOMM project, we did a study. It is published in a short report, and we asked students why they participate in extracurricular activities, students across Europe, and the number one reason they gave was to make friends, to socialize. Yet, on the other hand, we've also heard voices where for some students it can be hard to join specific groups. They might be too shy or have inhibitions to actively go out and seek contact with other students. So in this context, I wanted to ask you, do you see a specific kind of student engaging in the activities offered by higher education institutions, most notably that kind of student who would be the outgoing one in the first hand? And so do these activities that you offer reach the students that might be most in need of them? I mean, who are the students that come and take advantage of your offerings? Weronika, if I might go back to you just now.
Yeah, absolutely. Who are the students? This is quite a diverse group, I would say. Certainly, I would say that there is specificity to the newcomers because they are just at the beginning of their journey, and they can be quite shy and apprehensive. So it's good to give them some space and time to to understand the basic rules at university, and then slowly provide some offer, give them opportunities to slowly join some events. So for me, this is one group. So newcomers, they are very specific. They need time. They to digest this new environment and understand how it works. So this is for sure something I can see at the university. The second thing I want to emphasize is that some because I am coordinating also student organization activity at university. So there is a group of leaders who are already active. So they would have been active already when I joined the university. So sometimes I had this feeling, I'm just thinking if for some new students who are not a part of the student organization, it can be hard to be a part of this existing community. They can think that this is strict community, that they are too, I don't know, maybe too fun, too cool to join them. Yeah. That this community maybe is so too hermetic to join it. Sometimes I have this feeling that it can be quite challenging for new people to join the existing structures. So something that is working quite nicely in this case, we have this regular meetings, open meetings for students created by those organizations. I am supporting them, but basically they create some kind of fairs, student organizations fairs. So this is open event in the corridors of university. So this is whole day when you can just stop, talk to other students, ask questions, know more about them. And this is, from my perspective and from my experience, it was a good way to slowly promote this way of acting at university and make it more easy for new people to come and to join and do it in a, less formal way for them. So
it's like student groups organizing welcome events for other students, and that seems to work well.
And we do it 2 times during the whole academic year. So for 1 semester, winter and summer semester. So yeah.
So it's student led in a way, and this kind of lowers the threshold. I mean, I can tell from my own experience. I mean, it's been some time since I graduated, but looking back at my own experience as a student, I remember I had inhibitions of joining the cool crowd, the union kids, of approaching them. So, Nikol, what's your take on like the usual suspects, outgoing personalities who are, let's say, more eager to join existing activities or events?
I think I would also stick with this events of like welcome events and welcome weeks, as we call them at our university. And we try to kind of balance out the informative events and the social events, because we're very well aware that the social aspect is incredibly important, because, if you can't find any friends, you're probably not going to stick around and finish your studies, or at least you're going to have a very hard time doing so. So we try to organize these events where they can meet other people. And one of the things that we do is a big game night, very, very informal. We just, book the biggest room we can find. We have a ton of different board games there, and we just provide snacks and drinks. And you see all different kinds of people coming. So you have the ones who have already found friends who may be living in a dorm and brought 5 others, or who have maybe met at one of our other events, and they come in as a group and they occupy one table, and you can tell, okay, those are the ones, like we expected those, and it's great that they're here, and they, already fill the room a little bit. So it's kind of, if you're the shy person who came by themselves and you walk in and the entire room is empty, it's kind of, it would drive you into a panic attack, right? But if there are already some people there, it's kind of easier. So what we also do to kind of make it easier for the ones who might have had to really, give themselves a little pep talk before coming to such an event, because it does take quite a lot of social, like, courage almost, so to speak.
Yeah.
If you have a bit of anxiety. We have older students who work there, and a lot of our staff are students themselves. So it's kind of, you walk in and it's people like you. It's not the super highly educated older professor types of people, but it's just other students, which is already a bit easier. And we usually just approach them at the entrance and we explain, you can take a snack, you can join any table you want. And if we realize they're kind of hesitant to join a table, then we ourselves, we just take a game and we're like, hey, do you want to play this game with me? And that's usually enough. And then once the room fills, it's great for them. But if, you're still not going to have all, I don't know how many thousand students sign up every year coming to that event. We also offer degree-specific welcome events. So we kind of encourage every degree program to organize something. And usually what the professors do, and I think that's a very smart idea, is they take the very first big lecture that everybody should attend. And at the end of this lecture, they're like, everybody can stay. We have snacks, we have drinks. Let's just get to know each other. Because they have to come to that lecture anyway. So they're already there. And then they realize, okay, you know what, the professors, they seem nice, they want to talk to me. I have other students here, and at least the common interest we have is our study program. And then they might also invite some older students, and you're already there, so why not stay, at least for a drink? And that kind of makes it easier to kind of grab those who might be too anxious to go to the bigger social events by themselves. And I think that in connection works really well.
Yeah, great. The social aspect and belonging at higher education is extremely important, as various studies have shown by now, for student success, for retention, for a great higher education experience. So these are fascinating insights